1903. The inaugural World Championship Series saw Boston overcome a 3-1 deficit to beat Pittsburgh 5-3. Honus Wagner's Pirates fell short as Cy Young dazzled for the Pilgrims. Boston's billiard hall victory set the tone. Injuries, late-game tension, and an entertaining finale that birthed a new tradition. 1904. No series. New York Giants refused to face the AL champion. Manager John McGraw called the junior circuit minor league. It was a snub so loud it forced a rule change, making the World Series a permanent fixture starting the next year. 1905. Christy Mathewson pitched 3 shutouts in 6 days, and the Giants beat the A's in 5. His ERA? 0. The series was a showcase for dominant arms. 4 of 5 games were shutouts. It was baseball's first true pitching clinic. 1906. The Cubs won 116 games, but lost the series. The hitless Wonders White Sox outpitched, outbunted, and outscrapped their crosstown rivals in 6. It was baseball's first major upset, with Chicago crowned, just not the Cubs. 1907, the Cubs got their revenge, sweeping the Tigers in 5. Game 1 was a tie. Mordecai Three-Finger Brown baffled Detroit, while Ty Cobb struggled. It was the start of the Cubs' short-lived dynasty, and a long cursed century ahead. 1908, same matchup, same result. Cubs over Tigers in 5. Brown and Orville overall dominated on the mound. It remains the Cubs' last title for 108 years. At the time, it looked like the beginning, not the end, of an era. 1909. The Pirates edged the Tigers in 7. Honus Wagner outplayed Ty Cobb, redeeming his rough series in 03. Rookie pitcher Babe Adams won 3 times, including a Game 7 shutout. Pittsburgh had its crown and its legend. 1910. The Athletics handled the Cubs in 5. Jack Coombs pitched 3 complete games in 6 days. Connie Mack's A's played smart, fast, and unforgiving baseball. Chicago's reign was officially over. 1911. The A's repeated, beating the Giants in 6. Baker homered off Christy Mathewson and Rube Marquardt on consecutive days, earning permanent nickname status. Chief Bender and Eddie Plank handled the pitching. It was old-school grit with new-school swagger. 1912. The Red Sox outlasted the Giants in an 8-game thriller, thanks to a Game 2 tie. Smokey Joe Wood dueled Mathewson, Tris Speaker made clutch plays, and Boston walked off in Game 8 after a critical Giants error. Chaos, glory, baseball. 1913. Philadelphia took its 3rd title in 4 years, dismantling the Giants in 5. Bender and Plank were dominant again. Mathewson pitched with guile, but the A's were simply better. Connie Mack's dynasty was officially certified. 1914. The Miracle Braves swept the mighty A's in 4. Boston had been dead last in July before roaring to the pennant. Bill James and Dick Rudolph silenced Phillies' bats. It was a lightning bolt title. Quick, brilliant, and gone just as fast. 1915. Boston beat the Phillies in 5. The Red Sox rotation was loaded, and a 20-year-old pitcher named Babe Ruth sat unused. Duffy Lewis and Harry Hooper delivered key hits. Philly took Game 1, then watched Boston take 4 straight. 1916. Boston did it again, this time over the Brooklyn Robins in 5. Ruth made his World Series pitching debut with a 14-inning complete game in Game 2. The Red Sox were patient, precise, and now dynastic. 1917. The White Sox beat the Giants in 6, with Red Faber winning 3 games and Eddie Collins leading the offense. Shoeless Joe Jackson hit .301. It was Chicago's 2nd title, and the last before scandal painted everything 2 years later. 1918. The Red Sox beat the Cubs in 6 behind Babe Ruth's dominant pitching, 29 2/3 consecutive scoreless innings. It was Boston's 5th championship. Then Ruth was sold, and the so-called curse began. They wouldn't win again for 86 years. 1919. The most infamous series. The Reds beat the White Sox in 8, but the result was rigged. 8 Sox players, including Joe Jackson, conspired with gamblers to throw games. The fallout reshaped the sport. Trust was broken. October got darker. Yeah, that really happened. Let me know in the comments if this was news to you. And if you think Shoeless Joe should be in the Hall of Fame. 1920. The Indians won their first title, beating the Robins in 7. Game 5 featured the only unassisted triple play in series history. Stan Kovaleski won 3 games, and Cleveland celebrated amid post-scandal tension. A quiet triumph in a noisy time. 1921. The Yankees made their World Series debut, but the Giants won in 8. Babe Ruth homered early but got injured late. The Giants pitching smothered New York. It was the first all-New York series, and the city was officially baseball's capital. 1922. The Giants swept the Yankees in 4, plus a tie in Game 2. Ruth hit just 118. The Polo Grounds crowd saw a defensive clinic and pure National League pitching dominance. John McGraw's Giants were cold, clinical, and way too good. 1923. Yankee Stadium opened, and the Yankees finally broke through. They beat the Giants in 6. Ruth hit 3 homers, and Bob Musel drove in 8 runs. The Yankees had their first title. The dynasty door had officially opened. 1924. The Senators won their first and only championship, beating the Giants in 7. Walter Johnson, at age 36, finally got his postseason glory with 4 relief innings in Game 7. A bad hop grounder ended it. Washington erupted. The Capitol had a crown. 1925. Pittsburgh rallied from a 3-1 deficit to beat the Senators in 7. Kiki Kyler's clutch double in Game 7 sealed it. Walter Johnson started but got tagged. Rain and mud turned the series finale into a literal and emotional slog. 1926. The Cardinals won their first title, edging the Yankees in 7. Babe Ruth hit 3 homers in 1 game, then got caught stealing to end the series. Grover Cleveland Alexander came out of the bullpen, possibly hungover, and shut it down. Drama delivered. 1927, Murderers Row. The Yankees swept the Pirates. Ruth hit 350, Gehrig drove in 4, and the Bronx Bombers outclassed everyone. Game 4 ended on a walk-off wild pitch. It wasn't close, it was legendary. 1928, Yankees swept again, this time the Cardinals. Gehrig hit 4 homers, Ruth hit 3, and St. Louis never stood a chance. New York had won back-to-back sweeps and 3 titles in 6 years. The dynasty wasn't just alive, it was accelerating. 1929. The Athletics took down the Cubs in 5. Game 4 was a classic. Philly scored 10 runs in the 7th to flip a blowout. Jimmy Fox and Lefty Grove starred. Connie Mack was back on top, more cerebral than ever. 1930. The A's repeated, beating the Cardinals in 6. Fox and Al Simmons kept hitting, and George Earnshaw and Lefty Grove shut it down. St. Louis was feisty, but Philly's lineup was a freight train. 2 down, 1 to go. 1931. The Cardinals flipped the script, beating the Athletics in 7. Pepper Martin had 12 hits, and Burley Grimes won 2 key games. Philadelphia's dynasty hit the wall. St. Louis stormed back from the brink and grabbed its second title. 1932. Yankees swept the Cubs in 4. Babe Ruth's called shot in Game 3 became instant myth. Gehrig added 2 homers of his own. New York scored 37 runs in 4 games. It was a blowout wrapped in a spectacle. 1933. The Giants beat the Senators in 5 behind Carl Hubbell's 20 scoreless innings and Mel Ott's clutch bat. Washington made its last series appearance for nearly a century. New York was once again the center of everything. 1934. The Cardinals won a 7-game brawl with Detroit. Dizzy Dean won 2. His brother Paul added another, and the Gas House Gang swaggered into legend. Game 7 ended 11-0. The Deans didn't pitch clean, but they pitched better. 1935. Detroit finally broke through, beating the Cubs in 6. Hank Greenberg starred, and Goose Goslin walked it off in Game 6. It was the Tigers' first title, and the last pre-war dance for a golden team. 1936. The Yankees returned and beat the Giants in 6. Joe DiMaggio made his series debut, Gehrig homered twice, and the Bronx steamrolled to the top again. A new dynasty had arrived, and it was loud. 1937. The Yankees repeated, again beating the Giants, this time in 5. DiMaggio hit 346, Red Ruffing was dominant, and Bill Dickey drove in 6 runs. New York was now up to 6 titles, and just getting started. 1938. The Yankees swept the Cubs in 4 and became the first team to win 3 straight titles. Joe Gordon hit 400 and Lefty Gomez stayed spotless. Chicago was helpless. New York was inevitable. The machine kept humming. 1939. Make it 4 straight. Yankees swept the Reds, powered by DiMaggio, Gordon, and a walk-off error in extra innings. Charlie Keller homered twice in Game 3. The Bronx Bombers weren't just dominant, they were bored. Real quick, if you're enjoying this history-packed ride, hit that like button and subscribe. It helps way more than you think. 1940. Cincinnati got revenge, beating Detroit in 7. Paul Derringer and Bucky Walters carried the staff, and Billy Myers drove in the go-ahead run in Game 7. It was the Reds' first title since 1919. this time untainted. 1941. The Yankees beat the Dodgers in 5. Game 4 flipped on Mickey Owens' dropped third strike, opening the door to a Yankee rally. DiMaggio was an anchor, but a dropped third strike led to a Yankee rally. Brooklyn was heartbroken again. 1942. The Cardinals ended the Yankees' streak with a 5-game win. Stan Musial made his series debut, while Johnny Beasley and Whitey Kurowski starred. St. Louis had speed, arms, and timing. The series baton was passed. 1943. Yankees got revenge, beating the Cardinals in 5. Spud Chandler pitched lights out, and Joe Gordon delivered in the clutch. With rosters depleted by the war, this was a stripped-down but still ruthless Yankee effort. 1944. All Saints Louis. The Cardinals beat the Browns in 6. Stan Musial stayed quiet, but pitching and defense carried the Redbirds. The Browns' first and only series appearance ended in quiet defeat. Wartime baseball was weird, but still watchable. 1945. The Tigers beat the Cubs in 7. Hal Newhouser won twice, and Hank Greenberg drove in 7 runs. Chicago blew a 2-1 lead. A tavern owner blamed it on a goat. Detroit celebrated. The Cubs began the longest drought in sports. 1946. The Cardinals edged the Red Sox in 7. Game 7 turned on Enos Slaughter's mad dash from first to home. Ted Williams went quiet, and Boston's heartbreak era truly began. St. Louis just ran harder. 1947. Yankees beat the Dodgers in 7. Jackie Robinson made his series debut, and Brooklyn pushed hard. Cookie Lavagetto's walk-off double in Game 4 stunned the Bronx. But DiMaggio and company hung on. First integrated series. First classic. 1948. Cleveland beat the Braves in 6 behind Lou Boudreau's leadership and Satchel Paige's historic appearance. Steve Gromek outdueled Warren Spahn. Larry Doby homered. The Guardians haven't won since, but this one still glows. 1949. Yankees over Dodgers again, this time in 5. Tommy Henrich walked it off in Game 1, and Joe Page locked down the bullpen. It was the beginning of a new dynasty. Brooklyn was already tired of this. 1950. Yankees swept the Phillies, who managed just 5 runs across 4 games. Whitey Ford made his series debut, and DiMaggio hit one last October homer. Phillies' whiz kids got schooled. Cold, efficient, vintage Bronx. 1951. Yankees over Giants in 6. Bobby Thompson's shot heard round the world got the Giants there, but Mickey Mantle arrived and Joe DiMaggio exited. A baton passing series and another ring for the Yankees, because of course. 1952. Yankees edged the Dodgers in 7. Billy Martin's lunging grab in Game 7 saved the day, and Johnny Mize hit 3 homers. Brooklyn came close again. The Yankees, cold-blooded as ever. That's 4 straight titles. 1953, 5 in a row. Yankees beat the Dodgers in 6. Mantle mashed, Martin hit 500, and Whitey Ford shut it down. Brooklyn had talent, but no closer's instinct. New York had both. Dynasty extended. 1954. Giants shocked the 111-win Indians with a 4-game sweep. Willie Mays made the catch in Game 1, and Dusty Rhodes became the unlikeliest hero. Cleveland's dream season ended in disbelief. October doesn't do logic. 1955. Brooklyn finally did it. Dodgers beat the Yankees in 7. Johnny Podres threw a Game 7 shutout, and Jackie Robinson's team erased decades of pain. Wait till next year became We Did It. Ebbets Field exploded. 1956. Yankees took revenge in 7. Don Larson tossed the only perfect game in World Series history in Game 5. Mantle hit 3 homers. Brooklyn faded. The Bronx never forgets, especially when you beat them. 1957. The Milwaukee Braves stunned the Yankees in 7. Lou Burdette won 3 games, Hank Aaron hit .393, and the underdogs didn't blink. This wasn't New York's year. Milwaukee made sure of it. 1958, Yankees got their payback, rallying from a 3-1 deficit to beat the Braves in 7. Bob Turley won MVP, Elston Howard homered, and Milwaukee cracked. It was the first 3-1 comeback in series history. Bronx rules reinstated. 1959, the Dodgers, now in Los Angeles, won their first West Coast title by beating the White Sox in 6. Larry Sherry earned series MVP with 2 wins and 2 saves. LA baseball was real, and now it was champion. 1960, a stunner. Pirates beat the Yankees in 7 despite being outscored 55-27. Bill Mazeroski's walk-off homer in Game 7 remains iconic. New York's numbers said domination. Pittsburgh's scoreboard said trophy. October wrote its own rules. 1961, Yankees handled the Reds in 5. Roger Maris and Mickey Mantle combined for 4 homers, and Whitey Ford broke the scoreless innings record. The Bronx Bombers added their 19th title. No drama, just damage. 1962, Yankees outlasted the Giants in 7. Game 7 ended on a screaming Willie McCovey line drive, caught by Bobby Richardson. 1 inch left and the Giants win. 1 inch right and it's tied. Baseball is a game of inches and heartbreak. 1963, Dodgers swept the Yankees. Sandy Koufax struck out 15 in Game 1, won 2 games, and redefined dominance. LA held New York to 4 total runs. Dynasty paused. A new coast now called the Shots. 1964, Cardinals topped the Yankees in 7. Bob Gibson struck out 31 in 3 starts and won Series MVP. Ken Boyer homered, Tim McCarver hit clutch. It was St. Louis's resurgence and the end of the Yankees' golden age. 1965, Dodgers beat the Twins in 7. Sandy Koufax, pitching on 2 days' rest, tossed a shutout in Game 7. He won Series MVP and maybe baseball immortality. LA took it with arms, not bats. 1966, the Orioles swept the Dodgers in 4. Baltimore pitchers held LA scoreless for the final 33 innings. Jim Palmer shut out Sandy Koufax in Game 2. Frank Robinson homered twice. The O's arrived. Koufax retired days later. 1967, Cardinals outlasted the Red Sox in 7. Bob Gibson won 3 games, struck out 26, and shut the door in Game 7. Carl Yastrzemski's Triple Crown season ended in heartbreak. Boston's pain had a new chapter. 1968, pitchers ruled. Tigers beat the Cardinals in 7, rallying from a 3-1 deficit. Mickey Lolich won 3 complete games, including Game 7 over Gibson. In the year of the pitcher, Detroit survived the A showdown. 1969, the Miracle Mets stunned the 109-win Orioles in 5. Tom Seaver and Jerry Koosman locked it down. Don Clendenon and Ron Swoboda delivered hits and heroics. The Mets went from joke to legend in one surreal week. 1970, Orioles crushed the Reds in 5. Brooks Robinson played third base like it was performance art. Highlight reels all series. Baltimore hit, pitched, and defended Cincinnati into submission. Redemption after the 1969 collapse was complete. 1971, Pirates beat the Orioles in 7 behind Roberto Clemente's brilliance. He hit .414 and homered in Game 7. Steve Blass pitched a complete game gem to close it. Clemente walked off with a ring and legacy. 1972, the A's beat the Reds in 7 in a low-scoring 10th series. Gene Tenace hit 4 homers and won MVP. Reggie Jackson was injured. Oakland won with pitching, grit, and mustaches. The dynasty had begun. 1973, the A's repeated, beating the Mets in 7. Reggie Jackson returned and took Series MVP. Bert Campaneris and Joe Rudy delivered key hits. New York made it tight, but Oakland's funky clubhouse found its edge again. 1974. Make it 3 straight. The A's beat the Dodgers in 5. Raleigh Fingers earned MVP. Catfish Hunter was sharp, and the bullpen shut everything down. Oakland's chaos didn't matter. They won anyway. It was weird. It was dominant. 1975. One of the greatest ever. Reds beat the Red Sox in 7. Carlton Fisk's Game 6 walk-off off the foul pole is legend, but Cincinnati's Game 7 rally sealed it. Bench, Morgan, and Rose delivered. The Big Red Machine finally cashed in. 1976, a steamroll. Reds swept the Yankees in 4. They hit 3-1-3 as a team, and their pitchers didn't allow a single home run. It was the only time the Yankees were swept in a series. The machine was fully weaponized. 1977. The Yankees struck back, beating the Dodgers in 6. Reggie Jackson hit 3 homers on 3 pitches in Game 6, cementing Mr. October forever. Billy Martin managed the madness. The Yankees were wild, but champions. 1978, repeat. Yankees beat the Dodgers in 6 again. Bucky Dent carried his postseason magic into October, while Jackson stayed hot. New York rallied from a 2-game hole. Catastrophe turned comeback, back-to-back Bronx glory. 1979, the We Are family. Pirates beat the Orioles in 7. Willie Stargell hit .400 with 3 homers and won MVP at age 39. Pittsburgh came back from 3-1 down. It was joyful chaos, and it worked. 1980. The Phillies won their first title, beating the Royals in 6. Mike Schmidt earned MVP, and Tug McGraw closed it out with arms flailing. Philadelphia finally broke through after 97 years of waiting and frustration. 1981. Split-season chaos ended with the Dodgers beating the Yankees in 6. Rookie Fernando Valenzuela became a national sensation. Ron Cey, Pedro Guerrero, and Steve Yeager shared MVP honors. LA lost the first two, then stormed back. 1982. The Cardinals outlasted the Brewers in 7. Keith Hernandez and Darryl Porter led the offense, while Bruce Sutter slammed the door in Game 7. Milwaukee slugged, St. Louis ran, speed beat power. 1983. The Orioles beat the Phillies in 5 behind Eddie Murray's bat and Scott McGregor's arm. Cal Ripken Jr. made his series debut. Baltimore's pitching was lights out, allowing just 1 run over the final 2 games. Charm City celebrated one more time. 1984. The Tigers roared through October, beating the Padres in 5. MVP Alan Trammell hit 2 homers in Game 4, and Jack Morris won twice. Detroit started 35-5 that year and never cooled off. Wire to wire, start to finish. 1985. The Royals beat the Cardinals in 7, and controversy helped. Don Denkinger's blown call in Game 6 sparked a KC comeback. Brett Saberhagen won MVP. Game 7 was an 11-0 demolition. The I-70 series ended with fury and fireworks. 1986. The Mets beat the Red Sox in 7. Game 6's infamous Buckner error let New York off the ropes. Game 7 finished the job. Mookie Wilson, Ray Knight, and a miracle 10th inning flipped history. Boston cursed. Again. 1987. The Twins beat the Cardinals in 7, becoming the first team to win all home games in a series. Kirby Puckett starred, Frank Viola won MVP, and the Metrodome's noise swallowed St. Louis. Home field advantage became literal. 1988. The Dodgers shocked the mighty A's in 5. Kirk Gibson's limp-off homer in Game 1 became an instant classic. Orel Hershiser shut down Oakland and won MVP. It was grit over glamour and a one-man highlight reel. 1989. The A's swept the Giants, but the earthquake stole the headlines. Game 3 was postponed 10 days after the Loma Prieta quake hit. When play resumed, Dave Stewart and Rickey Henderson took over. The Bay Series was surreal. 1990. The Reds stunned the A's with a 4-game sweep. Billy Hatcher set a record with 7 straight hits, and Jose Rijo dominated. Oakland's swagger collapsed. Cincinnati's bullpen, nicknamed the Nasty Boys, closed everything. 1991. The Twins beat the Braves in 7, widely considered the greatest World Series ever. 5 games were decided by 1 run. Game 7 went 10 innings. Jack Morris threw all 10 shutout frames. Gene Larkin walked it off. Unreal. 1992. The Blue Jays became the first non-US team to win it all, beating the Braves in 6. Joe Carter hit 357, and Dave Winfield's Game 6 double sealed it. Toronto proved international baseball wasn't just a novelty, it was a threat. 1993. Repeat. The Blue Jays beat the Phillies in 6. Joe Carter ended it with a 3-run walk-off homer in Game 6, just the second ever to end a series. Toronto had flair, power, and drama. Then baseball vanished for a while. 1995. After the strike canceled 1994, the Braves won their first title in Atlanta, beating Cleveland in 6. Tom Glavine tossed 8 one-hit innings in Game 6, and David Justice homered. The Braves pitching dynasty finally got its ring. 1996, the Yankees began their late 90s dynasty by beating the Braves in 6. Down 2 games, they stormed back. Jim Leyritz's Game 4, homer flip momentum. Mariano Rivera emerged. Jeter's run had begun. Atlanta never recovered. 1997. The Marlins won in just their 5th season, beating the Indians in 7. Game 7 went 11 innings. Edgar Renteria walked it off. Livan Hernandez won MVP. Florida spent big, won fast, and then tore it all down. 1998. Pure dominance. Yankees beat the Padres in 4, finishing a 114-win regular season with a 125-win total. Scott Brosius won MVP, Rivera closed it, and Tino Martinez hit bombs. It was machine-like, Ruthian, ruthless. 1999. Repeat. Yankees swept the Braves again. Clemens started Game 4, Rivera locked it all down, Chad Curtis walked off Game 3. It was casual excellence, back-to-back sweeps. The dynasty wasn't slowing, only mocking. 2000. Subway Series. Yankees beat the Mets in 5. Game 1 went 12 innings. Jeter homered early, and Luis Sojo delivered late. It was New York on New York, but the Bronx won bragging rights and a 3rd straight title. 2001. The Diamondbacks stunned the Yankees in 7. Mariano Rivera blew a save in Game 7. Luis Gonzalez's bloop single ended it. Curt Schilling and Randy Johnson were untouchable. After September 11th, it was heartbreak and healing in one unforgettable week. 2002, the Angels beat the Giants in 7. Down 5-0 in Game 6, Anaheim roared back. Troy Glaus won MVP, and rookie John Lackey won Game 7. Barry Bonds homered 4 times, but it wasn't enough. Disney got its ring. 2003, the Marlins did it again, beating the Yankees in 6. Josh Beckett threw a Game 6 shutout on short rest in the Bronx. Miguel Cabrera, 20 years old, homered off Roger Clemens. Florida built, won, and blew it up again. 2004, the curse ended. The Red Sox swept the Cardinals after the greatest comeback ever, down 3-0 to the Yankees in the ALCS. Manny won MVP. Keith Folka threw a heroic number of pitches in a week. Boston partied for a century's worth of pain. If you're loving this ride through baseball history, drop a comment with your favorite World Series moment so far, and hit subscribe so you don't miss the rest. 2005, the White Sox swept the Astros in 4, winning their first title since 1917. They allowed just 1 run after Game 1, and a total of 3 for the entire series. Scott Podsednik walked one off, and Bobby Jenks threw heat. Chicago erased 88 years of ghosts. 2006, the Cardinals beat the Tigers in 5. They won just 83 regular season games, but got hot at the right time. David Eckstein won MVP. Detroit forgot how to throw to first. St. Louis shrugged and hoisted another trophy. 2007, the Red Sox swept the Rockies, who had won 21 of 22 coming in. Boston cooled them off instantly. Mike Lowell won MVP. John Lester won the clincher. The curse-breaking Sox were now a machine. 2008, the Phillies beat the Rays in 5. Cole Hamels won MVP, and Game 5 was suspended mid-game due to rain. Finished 2 days later. Brad Lidge was perfect all season. Philly celebrated while Tampa started plotting. 2009, the Yankees won title number 27, beating the Phillies in 6. Hideki Matsui hit .615 and won MVP. A-Rod got his ring. Rivera closed it as always. The new Yankee Stadium got its first October confetti. 2010, the Giants won their first title since moving to San Francisco, beating the Rangers in 5. Tim Lincecum and Madison Bumgarner shut it down. Edgar Renteria's Game 5 homer sealed it. The dynasty began quietly, then loudly. 2011, one of the greatest ever. Cardinals beat the Rangers in 7. David Freese's game. 6 heroics, 2 out, 2-strike triple in the 9th, walk-off homer in the 11th, became instant legend. St. Louis was 1 strike away, twice, and still won. 2012, Giants swept the Tigers. Pablo Sandoval hit 3 homers in Game 1 and won MVP. The rotation dominated, and Marco Scutaro stayed red hot. Detroit's bats froze. San Francisco had 2 in 3 years, and wasn't done. 2013, the Red Sox beat the Cardinals in 6. David Ortiz hit .688 and was intentionally walked with a frequency rarely seen. Boston clinched at Fenway for the first time since 1918. A city shaken by tragedy got a cathartic parade. 2014. The Giants won their 3rd title in 5 years, edging the Royals in 7. Madison Bumgarner threw 21 innings and gave up 1 run. He pitched 5 scoreless in relief in Game 7 on 2 days' rest. It was unreal. 2015. The Royals finished what they started, beating the Mets in 5. They rallied in the 9th of Game 5, then exploded in extras. Eric Hosmer's daring dash tied it. Wade Davis closed it. Redemption delivered. 1 year late, perfectly timed. 2016. The Cubs ended 108 years of misery, beating the Indians in 7. Game 7 went to extras after a rain delay. Rajai Davis tied it with a home run. Then Ben Zobrist double sealed it. The world flipped. Wrigley wept. 2017. The Astros beat the Dodgers in 7, but scandal followed. Game 5, a 13-12 epic, was instant classic, later tainted. George Springer hit 5 homers. Houston celebrated. Then the trash can headlines hit, and everything changed. 2018, the Red Sox beat the Dodgers in 5. Steve Pearce hit 3 homers and won MVP. Nathan Eovaldi threw 97 pitches in relief in an 18-inning Game 3 loss. Boston was deep, dominant, and built to finish. 2019. The Nationals stunned the Astros in 7, all 7 games won by the road team. Steven Strasburg won MVP, and Howie Kendrick hit the clutch Game 7 homer. DC had its first title since 1924. All heart, no home field, 2020. In the pandemic-shortened season, the Dodgers beat the Rays in 6. Corey Seager won MVP, and Mookie Betts closed it out with a homer and a stolen base. Justin Turner tested positive mid-game. A weird year ended with long-awaited glory. 2021. The Braves shocked the Astros in 6. Jorge Soler hit 3 bombs and won MVP. Max Fried dominated Game 6. Atlanta lost Acuna mid-season, retooled and charged through October. A title no one saw coming, but fully earned. 2022. The Astros silenced doubters, beating the Phillies in 6. Rookie Jeremy Pena won MVP. Framber Valdez was lights out. The no-hitter in Game 4 made history. Houston had redemption and another ring. 2023. The Rangers won their first ever title, beating the Diamondbacks in 5. Corey Seager homered 3 times and won MVP. Adolis Garcia went nuclear before getting hurt. Texas went 11-0 on the road, from curse to crown. 2024. The Dodgers defeated the Yankees in 5 games to win their 8th World Series title. Freddie Freeman homered in 4 straight games and hit the first walk-off grand slam in World Series history, earning MVP honors. The Dodgers erased a 5-0 deficit in Game 5 to win 7-6, combining patience, power, and opportunism. It was LA's first title since 2020 and the Yankees' first Fall Classic appearance since 2012. And that brings us to today. If you made it this far, you're a real one. Subscribe for more deep dives into baseball's wildest moments, and drop a comment with the series you think gets overlooked. I'll be posting a lot here, so please subscribe. Thanks.